Hi, I'm Larry Micarenda. Welcome to this edition of Excelsior Forum Profiles. With us, no stranger to the show, and so glad to have him on, Suffolk County Comptroller John Kennedy.
Larry, how are you? Happy New Year.
Happy New Year to you. Always great to have you on. The man who can show us the money in Suffolk County and let us know what's going on. John, there's been so many things going on during the last time we had you on. First thing has to be the audits.
Yes.
Audits that your department has done. How much money you
So we've been doing very well when it comes to recovery, audit recovery. You know, we have the continuing operation with our homeless housing. Last year, I believe that we probably did a recovery total that was somewhere in the neighborhood of 6 to 7 million. But we are right on the threshold of releasing a global report associated with homeless housing with a snapshot of about 24 to 36 month time period. And I've contacted John Imhoff, our new commissioner. Real deal, boy, I have to tell you. You know, like most of the commissioners that County Executive Romaine has brought on, this guy has a tremendous, tremendous background in history and really wants to meet to go ahead and put some parameters in on homeless housing. As I've said to him, you know, we have, by and large, most of the operators are reputable and they do a decent job. But then we have an element that are whole-scale thieves, as you know.
Right.
In my time, we've shut down 3 operators, Lattice House, Lywin, Project Redirect. And the perspective with many of these operators was, when confronted with millions of dollars of disallowance, oh, well, we didn't know, or, oh, well, you know, can we repay it at $100,000 a year? I said, absolutely not. You know, if you're going to take the public's money and you're going to hold yourself out to do a job, we're not going to tolerate you buying Escalades in order to go ahead and ride around. How about a Yugo? You know, you're supposed to do the transportation, provide the housing, but don't abuse what the contract rights are. So I've asked John to actually, with this new round of contracts, we want to see some kind of personal guarantee. Either get a bond, get a pledge, get some kind of personal liability there so that these entities just don't operate in a disreputable manner and then split and leave town. $8 million is what the actual disallowance was. Now, we stopped the bleeding by shutting down the disreputable entities, but that's not fair to the citizen and the taxpayer. This next go-round, we're going to put in some protections going forward. We've had a whole range of other audits that have been underway. You know, we constantly audit into the departments. You saw what we had with the another consequence of the hack down in the health department. $12 million unbilled for and uncollected in methadone program and in mental health. All of those are highly aided and typically cover the staff and the operations. Well, the software that was in place was from 2010. Microsoft 2010. My grandson could go ahead and penetrate that.
Right.
You know, I say the analogy is like we went out, we bought a new car, we never changed the oil. We ran that block right until it seized.
Right.
There was no protection, no forethought, no constant monitoring on the IT, and look where it left us, Larry. Today, we're in a better place.
Yeah, and it goes back to the mismanagement of the previous administration, which was
rampant,
a nightmare.
Rampant.
I mean, not playing partisan or anything like that, but the thing is, let's call a spade and your club a club. The whole thing with the red light cameras.
Oh.
All right?
Yes.
Now, an administration fee that was deemed illegal that was charged these people,
Yes.
and now, again, it falls into the county's lap.
It does, and you know what? Listen, it's a sad chapter, Larry. And I've talked about this before. You know, in a spirit of full disclosure, I did vote for the red light camera program when it was first rolled out back in 2010. But at its inception, it was presented as a public safety tool, something to help law enforcement. Let's face it, we can't put a cop on every corner.
Right.
And some of the intersections that we had that were monitored were truly dangerous intersections. But what happened was it went from what appeared initially to be a public safety tool to nothing but a money grab. Yeah. Just, and ironically, a concentration in some of our lower economic areas where you sit there and you say to yourself, wait a minute, traffic is traffic. You know what? I don't care if we're up in Nessaquag or we're down in Brentwood or whatever. You look at the intersections, and that's where it should have been. However, I am glad that the state legislature did not reauthorize it. I'm proud of the county legislature for not making any attempt or effort to lobby to renew it. And County Executive Romaine planned for with his 25 budget so that the purported loss of revenue was leveled out and absorbed. And so who benefits? The citizen and the taxpayer. Now, along comes the lawsuit. And we'll see. We'll see what happens. We have good counsel out there. I don't know. You know, you saw what happened in Nassau. There's some defenses they're going to mount. If we have to go ahead and pay back, we're going to have to bond that. We're going to have to bond that, and it will be something that will be paid over 10 or 11 years. And you know how tight I've been with the bonding.
Exactly. And not just that, the credit rating of the county since you've been controller.
Come up exponentially, as a matter of fact. Again, another thing where Balone put us in the basement, and now, you know, we've kind of come back up. We're into the A positive level, and with healthy reserves out there.
Right, and the true savings was not really savings. It was COVID money that was given to the county that the county was able to get bailed out because we were in such bad shape.
Oh, we were weeks away from receivership, Larry.
Yeah.
No doubt about it, as a matter of fact. But for those declarations in the spring of 2020, we literally would have been, well, comparable to Nassau. Right. There would have been a control board imposed.
Exactly.
Because we were just that close to listen, there were many, many times where, in order to cover payroll, we spun vendors out 3 months, 5 months, 7 months, 9 months, and they called screaming. And first and foremost, we had to make payroll. Right. So, we are in a much better place now. But we are confronting several prospective large-scale lawsuits. Not only red light camera, we still have Southwest out there,
right,
and we still have the quarter-cent money lawsuit
right,
that it remains unresolved. All of those, I know the county executive and his team have been negotiating, but ultimately they're going to have to be resolved. Right. And we are going to have to pay something.
But one thing, thank God, like you had said before, we have a very smart county executive.
No doubt.
And the team that he put in is par excellence.
Outstanding. He has, his deputies, Christina Capabianco,
right,
superb on the finance side. Jennifer Jones, as a matter of fact, an attorney from up in Rocky Point. She ran for the ledge, as a matter of fact, you remember.
Right.
Great lawyer, very smart, and doing a wonderful job on the sewering efforts, the sewering initiative. Chris Clayton, excellent as our county attorney. So there is a good, quantum and corpus of folks around the county executive who will help with navigating some of these channels.
Right.
And, listen, I have told him, well, here's a perfect example. So I held to a $100 million limit previously when it came to capital. And as a matter of fact, last year we went to 164. Preceding with COVID and some of the other stuff during the hack time, we didn't borrow at all, but that's because there was no focus. Again, the prior administration, they were challenged to do one thing well, let alone multiple tasks.
Right.
Now, with County Executive Romaine, we'll go to probably 180 to 200 million this year because he knows how to go ahead and implement, get those capital projects out on the street,
right,
get the soaring initiatives done, start taking care of some of the, horrendous road conditions we have. Charlie Bartha there at the helm now, another seasoned pro.
Yeah. How many years? Almost 50 years at the county in the Department of Public Works.
Absolutely.
And actually, used as a consultant, people calling him up from other townships and everything like
course.
that, asking his advice and help. So
Of course.
that was, when I heard about Charlie Bartha being put back in, I thought it was the greatest, one of the greatest things that.
Good move
anyone
there.
did.
And then you also know that we have a great returnee over at the Department of Labor, Wayne Rogers,
Right.
who, again, you can't get a better guy for labor. Here's one for you. So Wayne comes in. Joey Montalbano from 66 joins him as a deputy. Guess who's doing field inspections now on jobs? Certified payrolls, making sure compliance with New York State prevailing wage, taking a laundry list a mile long, because nobody before was going ahead and checking. And here we had public money going out there and just bad actors who were not complying across the board. Now all of a sudden, there's a new sheriff in town, huh?
Exactly. Not just that, but these new checks and balances that the county executive has implemented, and a lot of your ideas that have come up.
Yes.
All right. This is the taxpayers' money. People don't understand. They're like, "Oh, you're doing a show about this." This is your money.
That's right.
Your money. All right. Your tax dollars is getting thrown out here. Oh well, I used up all that money, so now I have to come to you for some more.
Right.
Okay. That's not happening anymore.
No.
Okay. There's checks and balances now that are in there. There's
Yep.
no more blank checks being handed out by the county.
Nope.
All right. Everything's being checked, double checked, and rechecked.
Absolutely.
Going all the way down to, and I have to say, through you and your office and your staff, which has been fantastic, your auditors and everything, the money that you found during, I guess, the past couple of years, way over $100 million.
Oh, we've recovered, in many, many places, and I do have to say I am very, very fortunate. I'm in my 11th year. I have outstanding department, directors, really dedicated people. They've spent a lifetime in public service, and they work tirelessly. They work tirelessly to hit deadlines. They work, audit, I'll give you a perfect example. We just hired 2 new audit trainees. Now, the county executive has listened to our concerns. He's increased the salary steps a little bit. We're not supposed to be competitive with the private sector, but we do have to be competitive amongst our sister municipalities. Right. And it's always great to see some of the young graduates coming in where we're now training them in the profession and training them in the craft. I have folks, auditors that started when I first came in 8, 9 years ago. They're now senior supervisors, and they're the ones training the new hires.
Right.
And they're out there, as a matter of fact, and they're doing outstanding jobs when it comes to watching the public's money. And that's really what it gets down to, making sure. Listen, I have said that we are in a county that by and large is a very generous county. You go to almost anybody here, if there's somebody genuinely in need, they'll always go in their pocket. But they want to make sure that what they put on the table isn't used frivolously,
Right.
or disregarded. And so it's
going for where it was intended to go.
Exactly.
And that's one of the things about, the whole thing about the structure of the money and the controller's office. And now you're also the treasurer's
Yes,
office,
I
which
am.
you
Yes,
actually
I
have to
am.
wear 2 hats at the
Yes,
same
I
time.
am. And saving money. Think about that. Remember,
Exactly.
more now, when we first started in 2016, it was roughly about $1 million in salary between the 5 positions that were eliminated. Easily, we're up to probably 1.4, 1.5 now, each year recurring. Right. So over the last 10 years, you've got to look at it. I mean, there's 10, 12 million worth of savings right there for the citizens and the taxpayers. And you know what? My folks have all stepped up, and we get the job done. We definitely get the job done.
And 2 things, John, which is really fantastic, is that through your audits and through the way your department operates, finding money and checks and balances, you guys actually pay for yourselves.
We do. We
go in the long run.
We do. And, that's the other thing, I guess, that we try to be mindful of. We brought in a outside advisory team when it came to our banking transactions, and in particular pursuing interest, because we are in an environment now where you saw, Powell raised the rates, and so we took advantage of it. We made $50 million in interest income last year. The previous year we did so, and with some arrangement and going long, we've used both T-bills and we've used the local municipal investment pools. We'll probably hit that $50 million mark again in 25.
And what's our bond rating right now?
Our bond rating is AA, stable. We use Fitch, and we also use Standard & Poor's. Moody's also just actually came up. We've not rated with Moody's for quite some time, but we're at a AA level, and as a matter of fact, we may increase another increment or two. For us, that is a tremendous movement from where at the low end, you'll remember, we were triple B negative. And you don't come back from those kinds of ratings just overnight.
That's
you
a
have to
long
demonstrate
process.
yes, very much so.
process.
Yeah, you have to demonstrate to the agencies that consistently you're moving away from some of that short-term borrowing. You've actually been able to tighten the budgets and not go ahead and engage in frivolous spending. You've been able to aggregate and maintain the reserves, and then with the projections that you'll be able to go ahead and maintain that stable base of operation.
Exactly. It's like Suffolk County is a stock.
Yep.
Okay. And when you're going to play the market,
Yes.
okay, you want to make sure that stock is sound
Exactly.
before you can invest money
That's
in
right.
that. And when we have that AA rating,
Yes.
that means we're getting a lower interest rate
Yes,
on
we
our
are.
bonds, lower interest rate on borrowing,
Well-
and going all the way down. And that is saving the taxpayer tons of money.
So not only that, as a matter of fact, our most recent, we went out for a $350 million tax anticipation note in December, and we bought down another $46 million of existing debt for about another $3 million in savings. When you look at over the course of my time in, we bought down roughly about $800 million of our existing debt profile for basically about a $60 million savings in interest. The AA rating not only drives a better rate on the price of money, but it opens up the pool exponentially. We were 10 times oversubscribed. I saw offers from outfits that we have not seen heretofore. T. Rowe Price, Oppenheimer, many investment entities wanted to buy into that paper because they know they market and they know what the appetite out is there in the investment community. They want to bring Suffolk County paper into their profile now. It's a good tool and a tool that investors are interested in a repurchase on. So we've come, light years from where we had been.
So right now, you would say the financial stability of Suffolk County is pretty.
It's very good.
Yeah.
It's solid. There are things that we need to look at. We have been down a little bit on the sales tax. Now, the 1/8 of a cent kicks in March, but again, remember, that is dedicated specifically.
Lockbox.
Right. To grab, lockbox and then there's lockbox. But you know what? I know, I know Ed's commitment, and he will make sure that there's no movement. We've talked about the quarter cent since 1987.
Right.
And again, in the bad years, a $60 million revenue stream, more often than not, 45 to 50 million of it was going to pay PSAG and pay, gas and pay, payroll and everything else.
Right.
And then at the end of the year, you refund it. Well, you know what? I call that three-card Monte because the public said, we want this money to go specifically for groundwater protection.
Right.
And it wasn't. So now, with what we see coming in with the 1/8 of a cent, there is that commitment across the board from the county executive and from the legislature. They're going to be watching that like a hawk. Not unlike what's going on with the opioid money.
Right.
Where not only has the legislature said that they want it overseen and audited, and I've had auditors down in the health department now, they've been like an occupying force for the last 18 months. But the state, Assemblyman Brown, Keith Brown, reached out requesting an audit as well. Senator Matera, he's expressed a sincere concern. They all know and want to make sure this funding is being used very specifically for what its intent was.
Right.
They do not want to see it, deviated or dumped into a general fund concept.
And the other thing, John, a lot of people don't realize is that anything that's going to get paid from the county goes through you.
Yes, it does.
Not
Yes, it
only your
does.
treasurer capacities, but also your controller capacities.
Yes.
Now, one of the things, too, is you're also responsible if you can find a cheaper price for something. You're almost like the county shopper here.
I do.
Right? Now, one of the things that just happened and just occurred in the month of January was the changeover of medical benefits for the county
Yes.
employees.
That's right.
Mind telling the public a little bit about that?
Sure. So we have now gotten Aetna to go ahead and come on as our third-party administrator. We are self-insured. We are one of the largest insurers in the county of Suffolk, actually I would say in the downstate region, we have 45,000 lives that actually are covered under Suffolk County EMHP. That is a board that's actually overseen by the 9 union heads and 9 members from management. They make all the decisions about the range of coverage, set the co-pays,
Right.
and work with, the negotiation of in-plan physicians and the hospitals. The great thing about Aetna is, and by the way, Blue Cross Blue Shield, we had them, we were clocking them for over $1 million each year on our audits. And unfortunately, their perspectives seem to become more and more cavalier and disinterested. And in the end, look, a third-party administrator is supposed to operate our plan
Right.
the way we construct it,
Right.
not the way they think it might go.
Right.
And they're supposed to do it diligently, timely, and honestly.
Right.
And so Aetna came in, bid, and actually pledged over $40 million in savings from where we were at. $500 million is what the Fund 39 EMHP expenses over the course of the year. And so when you're confronted with that, better service, savings to be achieved, and quite frankly, already a more hospitable and compatible working relationship,
Right.
even during a contract, it really was a no-brainer. And I'm very optimistic. I think that, county members, their families, and retirees. Remember, there's 8,300 retirees
Right.
living not only all over the country, they're all over the world.
Right.
And it's our obligation, my obligation, to make sure that plan runs efficiently and that we protect everybody that are members in it. It's like the hair club for men.
Yeah.
I'm just,
You're just the president.
I'm a member.
But the real weight of it,
Yes.
that 40 million, that extra saving goes right back at general fund and to the taxpayer.
To the taxpayer.
Okay.
Exactly.
So it's less of a thing having people like every year we're getting killed with the school district. Every year the school district wants more money whether they have it or not. I mean, the last audit just shows that everybody has $40 to $50 million of reserves. Why it's not being used, that's another story.
Well, we both know that, as a matter of fact, and I use that point repeatedly, that, Tom DiNapoli does a great job, and typically when you confront it, a dear friend of ours, both Leslie and mine, Fred Gorman, has taken on Sachem several times, as you
Right.
recall, and those reserves were as high as 12, 14%. He brought the lawsuits, and they were compelled to disgorge.
Right.
4%, that's what they're supposed to be able to hold.
Right.
And you would hope that, other levels of government would want to employ this same type of posture. Right. Governor Hochul, who knows what's going to happen? We saw bits and pieces of her State of the State. And, listen, we need to do something to help people for education and recruiting process. But I wonder when she talks about free community college tuition. Both my wife and I, we work to get our education, and we put 4 kids through school too. I believe that there is, something to be said when you have some investment or some skin in it. Look, people of modest means, we should be able to help them, but you got to have something that's in it in order to go ahead and propel you to succeed.
Exactly.
And again, where's the money going to come from?
Right. And she's been looking at the cannabis industry as the cash cow. And while it has been good, it's been very good to Babylon. Hopefully it'll be good to Brookhaven and some of the other towns that out here that need that money, because with the landfill closing,
Yes.
you got this huge gap.
Yes.
They really don't want to go to the taxpayer and hit everybody up for $300 or $400 more a year,
Right.
especially now that we're getting hit with the taxes. The cannabis money, it just started coming into the county now, which of course, any money coming into the county right now is not going to be refused.
Of course.
But I think to try to bankroll all these things you want to do on the amount of money you're just getting, you have one pile, yet you want acting like you have a whole table full.
Right.
I think that's going to be that's a lot of bad management.
Well, we have to look at that, Larry, and you give a good point. So Babylon Town now, roughly, we've moved probably about over $3 million. We are the intermediary. Taxation and finance remits down to us. There is work that has to be done there, and that'll be part of what, my spring request is when we, asked the county executive to go up in my contacts with the state legislature. I need more of an audit trail, because what happens is now there's 2 licensed locations in Babylon town, but we're just getting one check. I have no, there's no audit trail as far as activity out of each of the locations.
Checks and balances.
And as we add Medford, and as we add the 2 locations in Riverhead, again, it's not just, my interest, it's my obligation under New York state law to be able to go ahead and confirm. I need to be able to independently confirm what's being remitted down from the state.
Right.
So they're going to have to do a better job in providing some of the backup and the metrics that are associated with these payments.
Exactly.
Yes, we get to retain some, but it's also an obligation to go ahead and verify what in fact's being remitted.
Right, because you don't know. Maybe you're getting 2.8 when you should be getting 3.2.
Again,
or something like that.
It's always comes down to the numbers, as you know. And I subscribe to a dear president that we both respected, Ronald Reagan. Trust but verify.
Right, exactly. That's the whole thing. And, it's sad but true, because, how many times are we picking up the paper, John, and we're reading about Medicaid fraud, Medicare fraud, people trying to defraud the county, all these other things.
Oh, Larry, I have to tell you, the impression when I first got in there was that, like it said, hit me up here. I can't tell you how many times people would say, what do you mean you want to see that? You're an entity. You better show up at the entrance conference, and you better take notice of the list of the items that you're supposed to remit, because if you don't, first of all, you'll be disallowed to go ahead and receive in the future. And the next place I go to is our dear friend Ray Tierney, the DA, and we have a conversation there. They have been excellent and very good to work with. And anytime, actually, every audit I do, I always refer over to Ray.
Yeah, and
I'm on the civil side, and he is a phenomenal DA.
I would say, just before we wrap up here, Ray Tierney, how he took control of that office and put top people in on this.
Absolutely.
And while people, there was some rumblings among some of the critics when he nailed the Gilgo thing, that I can't see how anybody would even the opposing political people are saying, we're not going to go up against him. This guy he's fantastic.
I would hope not, because you know what? And listen, we were there at his kickoff, and he is an eloquent speaker, but really, you see it in his approach. He's a local guy who never forgot his roots.
Exactly.
Growing up in Comac, played ball, went to St. Anthony's, went down to Brown, spent, 13 years with former DAs, 13 years with the feds. This guy doesn't have to open up the book. He knows it.
John, I want to thank you so much for giving us a full update on the county's money, showing us where the money is, and we hope to have you back in the future.
You bet.
And we're almost out of time here, so until next time, I'm Larry Mike Render for Excelsior Forum and Profiles. Take care, and we'll see you right back here on this channel.